Welcome to our deep dive. Today we're tackling The Earned Life by Marshall Goldsmith.
Oh, yeah, this one.
We'll be pulling out some choice excerpts from the book,
Mm-hmm.
really trying to unpack his thinking on how to, minimize regret
Right.
and build a life that feels, truly fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I'm especially curious to hear your take on this as someone who, is constantly learning and exploring new ideas.
Well, it's funny because it's not your typical self-help book,
Right.
Like Goldsmith, he's not just going on about success in the traditional sense.
Right.
He's after something, I think, much deeper.
Okay.
It's more about understanding what really drives us and then figuring out how to align our actions with, some kind of greater purpose.
He keeps coming back to this idea of an earned life.
Yes.
What exactly does he mean by that?
Yeah, that's the central question, right?
It feels like it's more than just
It's
checking things off a to-do list or...
It's not about, hitting certain milestones or whatever.
No, it's definitely not that. The way Goldsmith talks about it,
Yeah.
an earned life
Yeah.
is all about aligning the choices you make, the risks you take, the effort you put in, aligning all of that with some overarching purpose that you have.
Okay.
And it's that alignment that, regardless of what the actual outcome is,
Right.
that's what brings the true sense of fulfillment.
Okay, so it's not about the destination. It's
Not just the destination.
it's more about
It's about the journey.
the path you're on, how you're...
Yeah, and making sure that path is lined up with
Yeah.
what really matters to you.
So it's like a contrast to chasing those unearned rewards.
Exactly. Those are the things we might achieve.
Right.
Yeah.
But they kind of leave you feeling empty inside,
Yeah, totally.
Like you get there and you're like, wait, this is it.
You're not satisfied.
Yeah. And he tells this story about Leonard, this bond trader,
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
who had to retire early for health reasons.
Yeah. And you'd think in that situation, regret would be the overwhelming emotion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you'd think.
But Leonard wasn't filled with regret at all.
Interesting. Why not?
Because for him, his work wasn't just about making money.
Okay.
That wasn't his driving purpose. It was
Right.
about providing for his family. That was what truly mattered to him.
Okay.
So even though his career got cut short, he still felt this deep sense of fulfillment because he knew his actions were aligned with what he valued most.
It really makes you think about how we define success,
Doesn't it?
It's easy to get caught up in those external markers.
Oh, totally.
Achievements and all that, but maybe
Yeah.
true fulfillment comes from something deeper,
That has
something more personal.
It's got to come from within.
And that's where this every breath paradigm comes in.
Ooh, yes. This is a good one.
Yeah, I was fascinated by this.
It's such a fascinating concept that Goldsmith pulls from Buddhist thought.
Yeah. It's basically the idea that we're reborn with every breath.
Okay.
We're not bound by our past selves.
So each moment is a new beginning.
Exactly. It's a fresh start.
But how do we actually apply that to our daily lives?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Let's say you're dealing with some big regret.
Mm-hmm.
Can this idea really help?
Absolutely. Think of it this way. If you're constantly dragging around the weight of past choices, you're not free to make new ones.
Yeah, you're kind of stuck.
Exactly. This paradigm is all about shedding that regret.
Okay.
Those were choices made by a previous year.
So a past version of yourself?
Exactly. You taking this breath right now, you have the power to choose differently.
That's empowering.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, there's this exercise in the book where
Oh, yeah, I love this one.
you write 2 letters.
Yeah.
One to your past self,
Thanking them.
thanking them for a choice that positively impacts you now.
Right.
And then the other one is to your future self,
Uh-huh.
outlining an investment you're making today.
Yes. And I love that it's an investment, not a gift.
I was going to say, why that distinction?
Because a gift is just something you give.
Yeah.
But an investment, that implies an expected return.
Oh, interesting.
It's proactive.
So you're putting in the effort now.
Yeah. And by framing our actions as investments, we're consciously shaping our future selves.
It's interesting because as someone who, loves learning, it feels like so much of what we do is like an investment in our future selves, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Expanding your knowledge, gaining new skills.
Yeah.
All of that.
But I'm wondering if there are specific obstacles
Oh, for sure.
that might be holding us back
Yeah.
from fully living this earned life.
Well, Goldsmith, he lays out 6 key barriers.
Okay, what are they?
So there's inertia. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Parental programming.
Uh-huh.
Clinging to past identities, which is tough.
Right.
The
Well, just-
crazy pace of change these days.
Yeah.
And then 2 that I think might particularly resonate with you.
Okay.
Vicarious living and distraction.
Ooh, tell me more about those last two.
Well, I definitely feel the pull of information overload sometimes.
Yes.
And it's so easy to just get sucked into scrolling through social media, watching other people live their lives instead of
actually getting out there and doing it yourself?
Exactly. Goldsmith actually calls it the narcotizing trend toward vicarious living.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It is, but it's so true, right?
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on what we should be doing, we get distracted from distraction by distraction, to quote T.S. Eliot.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and it's not that these things are inherently bad,
right?
But we need to be mindful of how they're pulling us away from pursuing our own earned rewards.
So how do we combat that?
Yeah, how do we shift from just passively consuming to actively creating?
Is that where his earning checklist comes in?
That's exactly it.
He talks about these 6 factors that influence success, right?
Yeah, he lays out motivation, ability, understanding, confidence, support, and marketplace.
But he doesn't just list them off, right?
No. He brings them to life.
Okay, how so?
With these really compelling stories.
So I like
when he's talking about understanding, he shares this anecdote where he completely misread an audience during a speech because he hadn't grasped his role in that situation.
Interesting.
He had the words, but he lacked the understanding of the context.
That's a good reminder that communication is about more than just having the right information.
Totally. It's about understanding the context,
Yeah.
tailoring your message to your audience.
Makes sense.
He also talks about how critical support is.
Okay.
Even the most successful people, they rely on a network of others.
That's true.
It's recognizing that we don't have to do it all alone.
Right.
That collaboration and connection are key to achieving our goals.
Makes me think about the communities you're involved in.
Yeah.
I've seen how powerful those connections can be.
It can be amazing.
But before we get into that, I want to circle back to this one-trick genius idea.
Oh, yeah, that's a fun one.
He suggests that by really focusing in on one area of expertise, we actually become more valuable.
Counterintuitive, right?
Doesn't that limit us?
You'd think so, but Goldsmith actually argues the opposite.
Okay, interesting.
He believes specialization, when it's done right, it opens up way more opportunities.
Okay.
And he tells the story about Santiago, who found his genius later in his career.
Yeah.
His one trick was identifying other specialists and recognizing their value to organizations.
Wow. That's a useful skill.
Right. He could pinpoint the truly indispensable people in a company.
Regardless of their job title or their salary.
Exactly. It was about recognizing their unique contribution.
So it's not just about being good at something.
No, it's more than that.
It's about understanding the value you bring to the table.
Exactly. It's about finding that niche where your expertise really shines.
Do you think we all have a one-trick genius skill?
I think so. Yeah, the trick is figuring out what yours is.
Right. How do you even go about doing that?
Well, there are a few things you can try, like reflecting on your past successes and seeing if there are any patterns.
Okay.
What really energized you, what you were naturally drawn to. You can also ask for feedback from people who know you well.
Yeah, get some outside perspective.
And then there's experimenting, trying different things.
Why? See what sticks.
Exactly. And see what feels both challenging and rewarding.
That's a good point. It shouldn't feel like a chore.
Right. It should be something that you're excited about.
And something that you're good at.
And it might take some time to find it,
Yeah, I guess it's a process of discovery.
It is. It's a journey.
It's like most things in life.
Exactly. And it's a journey worth taking.
Because ultimately, it's about finding that thing that makes you feel truly alive.
That's what it's all about.
And using that to make a positive impact on the world.
Absolutely. That's the goal.
It's an inspiring thought.
It is, and it's something we can all strive for.
I'm excited to keep exploring these ideas with you.
Me too. Let's dive deeper. Yeah. It's like those actions we talked about earlier, framing them as investments in our future selves.
Right.
Trying new things, honing those skills.
That's part of the investment.
It all ties into Goldsmith's point about recognition and credibility. It's not enough to just be competent.
Right.
We need to be seen as competent.
That's a good point.
That really impacts our ability to make a difference.
You have an impact.
Exactly.
Goldsmith actually brings up Peter Drucker.
Oh, yeah, the management guru.
To illustrate this.
I love Drucker.
Yeah, he highlights Drucker's 5 rules for earning credibility.
It's not just about being likable, right?
It's deeper than that.
Building trust, showing your value.
Demonstrating your competence.
Yeah. One of the rules that stood out to me was, which one?
Drucker's idea of seeing the people we need to influence as customers.
Oh, interesting.
And ourselves as salespeople.
So like we're selling our ideas.
Yeah, we have to sell our competence to be heard.
To have an impact.
Yeah, it's a different way of thinking about it.
It is. It kind of shifts the perspective.
Makes me think about how we approach communication and influence.
In general.
Are we really taking the time to understand our audience?
Yeah, their needs, what they care about.
And then tailoring our message accordingly.
It's about meeting them where they are.
And that's where Goldsmith brings in his credibility matrix.
Ah, yes, the matrix.
It helps us figure out when to proactively seek approval and when to just let go.
It's a good tool for that.
It asks 2 key questions.
Okay, shoot.
Will seeking approval make a positive difference?
Right.
And do we have the power to change the situation?
So it's about picking your battles.
Exactly. I can see how this could be useful.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in those situations where you're tempted to seek validation.
Even when it's not going to help.
Yeah, even if it's not productive.
Goldsmith actually tells this really funny story.
Oh, I love his stories.
About how he was like totally overselling himself to this group of people. And he was just completely missing the mark.
What happened?
Well, it turns out he was talking to Jonas Salk.
No way.
That guy who developed the polio vaccine.
You're kidding?
I know, right? Talk about a humbling experience. It's a good reminder to just stay grounded.
Yeah.
Focus on the substance of your work.
Not try to impress people.
Exactly.
So shifting gears a bit.
Okay, where are we going now?
Goldsmith also talks about this interplay between action, ambition, and aspiration.
Those are 3 big words.
I know, but he breaks it down really well.
How so?
So action is what we're doing right now.
In this moment.
Ambition is our pursuit of like defined goals.
So the things we're working toward.
And then aspiration is who we want to become.
Like our ultimate purpose.
Exactly.
I like that.
It's about aligning our actions with our ambitions.
Right.
But also making sure those ambitions are driven by a deeper aspiration.
So it's all connected.
Yeah, it's like a hierarchy of goals.
He actually contrasts his own life, which is very work-centric, with his friend Frank, who prioritizes a more balanced lifestyle.
Okay.
And they both achieve fulfillment, but through very different paths.
Because they're both aligned with their aspirations.
Exactly. It highlights that there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
To living an earned life.
Right. It's about figuring out what works for you.
Understanding your own values, your priority.
And making choices that are consistent with who you want to be.
That being said, Goldsmith does offer a framework for self-improvement.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
He calls it the Life Plan Review, or LPR.
LPR. Okay.
I'm curious how this differs from, like, traditional goal setting.
Yeah, me too.
It's inspired by Alan Mulally's business plan review.
Interesting.
And it emphasizes structured meetings.
Okay.
Community support.
So you're not doing it alone.
And honest self-assessment.
So it's about holding yourself accountable.
Exactly. It's not just about setting goals.
It's about creating a system.
Or ongoing growth.
I like that.
He talks about these 4 key actions within the LPR.
Okay. Blame on me.
Compliance, accountability, follow-up, and measurement.
Those sound familiar.
Yeah, we've touched on some of these before.
So how do they play out in this context?
Well, compliance in the LPR is about consistently showing up for the meetings.
Making it a priority.
Yeah. And then accountability shifts from being answerable just to yourself.
To being answerable to the group.
Exactly. So you have that external support.
And motivation.
It's like you're all in it together.
Makes sense.
Then there's follow-up.
Which is?
Checking in with each other between meetings.
Okay.
Sharing progress, offering support.
Keeping each other on track.
And then measurement is about tracking your efforts.
Your progress in those specific areas you're working on.
It's about holding yourself accountable to the process.
Not just the outcome.
Exactly.
What really stands out to me is this emphasis on community.
Yeah.
Like, he's adamant that achieving an earned life is nearly impossible in isolation.
He talks about his experience with the 100 Coaches community.
Right, which started as just a way to connect with other coaches.
But it became something so much more.
He calls it a miracle.
A powerful network of support.
For both personal and professional growth.
It's a testament to the transformative power of community.
But what are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question.
Do you see any potential downsides to relying so heavily on a community?
I mean, I wonder about the potential for groupthink.
Yeah.
Or feeling pressured to conform to the group's norms.
That's a valid concern.
Seems like finding the right community would be crucial.
One that aligns with your values.
And encourages individual expression.
Absolutely. You don't want to lose yourself in the group.
And you might need to be willing to walk away from a community if it's no longer serving you.
Yeah, sometimes you got to move on.
Now, going back to the LPR, Goldsmith also talks about this idea of feed forward.
What's that?
Proactively seeking advice and suggestions from others.
I like that.
It takes the pressure off waiting for a formal review.
You're taking control of the feedback process.
Exactly.
And this seems especially relevant for someone like you who loves learning and exploring new perspectives.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's about being open to different viewpoints.
I love that idea.
Me too. It's very empowering.
But there's still so much to unpack with this LPR concept.
Yeah, we've just scratched the surface.
How do we actually translate these principles into tangible actions?
Well, Goldsmith, he actually gives a lot of practical advice.
Okay.
Based on, his own experience with this stuff.
Okay.
He suggests, starting small.
Okay.
Maybe just with one or two people that you really trust.
People you feel comfortable with?
Yeah, people you can be vulnerable with, honest with.
Right. It's about creating a safe space.
Exactly. It's not about,
Not about the numbers.
No, not building this huge network. It's about finding those right people.
For your support system.
Exactly.
So what should we be looking for in those people?
He emphasizes choosing people who are, supportive, obviously, non-judgmental.
Okay.
And this is really key, committed to their own growth.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because the LPR, it's a two-way street.
So you're supporting each other.
You're all there to learn and grow together.
And having that shared commitment probably makes it more likely that...
Oh, way more likely.
You'll stick with it.
Yeah, because let's be real.
It's easy for these things to, fall apart.
Oh, totally. Even with the best intentions.
Life gets in the way.
It does. So he recommends setting a regular meeting time.
Okay.
And sticking to it.
Like putting it on the calendar.
Yeah. Consistency is key.
To build that momentum.
Exactly. And here's a good tip.
Okay.
He suggests structuring those meetings around some shared activity.
Like
having a meal together or going for a walk, something like that.
I like that.
Yeah, it just helps create a more relaxed, informal atmosphere.
It doesn't feel so formal, stuffy.
It's just friends getting together.
Hanging out.
Supporting each other.
He even uses the game of golf as an analogy.
Oh, I remember.
There for the LPR.
It's structured, it's social.
And there's that built-in accountability.
Right, because you're keeping score.
Yeah. And he's also really honest about some of the challenges.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't sugarcoat it.
He's encountered facilitating these groups.
What kind of challenges?
Well, he talks about how important it is to create that safe space.
Where people feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, where they can be vulnerable.
He's actually developed specific techniques to deal with, self-criticism.
Oh, interesting.
He'll have someone raise their hand.
Okay.
State their name, and then repeat a phrase.
What kind of phrase?
Something acknowledging that their past behavior doesn't define them and that they have the power to change.
Oh, I like that.
That's a good way. Shifting the focus.
It's not about beating yourself up.
From the past to the present.
It's about recognizing that we all make mistakes. And we can choose to learn from them and move on.
That's a good reminder.
He also talks about the importance of celebrating wins.
Oh, that's huge.
No matter how small they are.
It's easy to get caught up in what we haven't accomplished yet.
And forget to celebrate the progress we've made.
So acknowledging those small steps forward is crucial.
It builds momentum.
Keeps you motivated.
And it's a reminder that growth isn't always linear.
Right. There are going to be ups and downs.
Setbacks, challenges.
But it's about getting back on track and keep moving forward.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the earned life...
It's been quite a journey.
It has. What are some of the key takeaways that really resonate with you?
Well, for me, it's that reminder that an earned life, it's not about achieving some predetermined outcome.
It's about aligning our choices,
our efforts,
our risks with our values and aspirations.
It's about the journey.
It's about finding that fulfillment in the journey.
Not just the destination.
And it's about recognizing that we don't have to go it alone.
Right. We need support.
We can find support in others.
Whether it's an LPR group or a community.
Or just those close friends and family who believe in us.
Goldsmith has given us a roadmap.
He really has.
Not just for achieving success.
But for creating a life.
Of purpose.
Of meaning.
And fulfillment.
His life plan review is a great framework.
To put these ideas into practice.
So what positive difference do you want to make in the world?
That's the question, isn't it?
What steps can you take right now, today, to start living a more earned life?
We encourage you to reflect on these questions.
Explore the resources we've discussed.
And most importantly, take action.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive
into the earned life.